Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast, the Drafted Up podcast. Today's a big one. Post-free agency, mock draft. Nick and I will be working together as co-general managers to make the picks. So no alternating this time around. We'll be working as a tandem for the first round of the NFL draft. You know where to find us. We're over on Twitter/X at DraftedUp_pod. More importantly, though, like the show on Spotify or Apple, follow, subscribe, whatever it is over on YouTube, and then share. Tell a friend, tell anyone, word on the street. You're passing the guy's got a football jersey, be like, hey, you ever heard of the Drafted Up podcast? Check it out. We appreciate everything that you guys do for the show here. Nicholas,
Leonard,
how you doing?
Doing good. Ready to get this mock on, dude. I'm excited. Working together. So we got two minds thinking for GMs here. And the past episode should be fixed for anyone who did listen to it and realize that the episode was messed up. That Leonard's audio and video got cut halfway through, and it was just me talking to myself like an insane person. So hopefully that video is fixed by the time this episode comes out. Yeah,
I promise to stay through the whole episode today.
Yeah, not dip out after the ad read.
But yeah,
that dub.
Yeah, we had some technical issues. Shout out Merck for pointing that out to us. I contacted Riverside and we got it figured out, and it finished uploading the rest of my audio today. So I will repost that episode tonight and probably have this one up as well. So double the work for me, but it's my own fault for not paying attention. So
it happens.
You ready to just dive right into this thing?
Yeah, dude. Let's get it, dude. Okay. I'm excited. I've been running mocks all day, so
yeah. Aaron Rodgers still hasn't signed.
Do we want
to hypothetically give him a team?
Nah.
Where do you think he go? Okay.
It's either going to be the Giants or Pittsburgh. Everything I hear, it's going to be that he's a Steeler.
That's
from
what I
hear.
I was going to draft as if Rodgers was going to Pittsburgh. That's what I think is going to happen.
If you want to do that, I'm cool with that. But everything I do hear is that he's leaning towards the Steelers because Minnesota is now completely out, which I know you're thrilled. Yeah. I'm a Giants fan, so I'm not particularly thrilled that he's still in the running for my team. So
it is.
We'll see.
J.J. McCarthy season, baby. I do hope we eventually add a quarterback though, because he's the only one on the roster.
You'll get one at some point. You'll bring in a veteran. But if you go back a year ago and listen, I talked about JJ sitting out a year, getting the right system, and it's all fallen into place for him. So I'm excited to see how it goes for him.
Oh. Unfortunately, the only reason he sat out for the year is because he was hurt. I do think he would. I think he would have ended up with the job. I do.
I don't think so. I think Darnold did too well. I think Darnold killed it, dude.
I don't think it would have been Darnold's job. I think JJ would have started from week 1.
I don't think he would have been ready. I think Darnold would have got the season.
I think the rest of the preseason would have showed that up there. So we're gonna share my screen here, and we're gonna get rolling here. Mock draft simulator.
Whoop. Shout out PFF for the best mock draft simulator in the game.
Yeah. Shame they got it behind a paywall.
Yeah,
I mean they do have a free version, but
yeah.
I thought about mixing it up and using a different one to throw you off, but I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, that would have not been.
Yeah.
Sure. Make the round up the rounds a little bit so we can see future picks.
All right, I'll just go to 7. We are not doing 7 rounds.
No. We're doing 1. 32 picks.
Okay, here we go. It'll just make reading through at the end a little difficult. Enter draft. All right. Round 1, the Tennessee Titans are on the clock. Do we want to trade this pick?
No, I don't think they trade out.
No, I agree. I think this is locked in. Cam Ward.
I agree. I think Cam Ward goes 1. If they do end out trading out, it would be with Cleveland or the Giants, I think. But ultimately, I think Tennessee sits here, makes the pick. Cam Ward, Tennessee Titans. Okay. What other options, though, like real quick, just who else do you think would be in the running? Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter? That's about it?
I think it would just be Abdul Carter. I don't think Travis Hunter's in the running for pick 1.
Okay. I get that. I think Carter would go over Hunter in this scenario, but Cam Ward, I do think, is the pick.
Yeah, all right. That puts Cleveland up at 2. And now I think we're in a 3-horse race here. And it is Travis Hunter.
Yep.
It's Abdul Carter, and it's Shadur Sanders.
Yeah. As of right now, I'm leaning Shadur going to
Same boat.
Okay. Only because the Browns have to pull the trigger at a quarterback. They're stuck in cap hell with Watson, and Stefanski can do wonders with a guy like Shadur. He's a weaker arm. He can still make plays. He's a really good pure passer, probably the best one in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's really, like you said, the three guys. It's Hunter, Carter, Shadur. I think it ultimately ends up being Shadur here, really screwing out the Giants out of their quarterback situation, but the Giants end up with ultimately one of the top two talent-wise guys in the draft.
Yeah. I'm on board as well as Shadur Sanders. I'm not going to fight back. Personally, I would rather take Travis Hunter because they do see him as a wide receiver and try to trade back in to get Shadur Sanders, but there's no guarantees there because chances are if I do take Travis Hunter here, the Giants take Shadur Sanders at 3 and my point is moot, and now I'm back at square one with no quarterback.
Yep. Yeah,
so
you can't risk the quarterback, dude. You just got to pull the trigger when you do, and if Shadur, they think's the guy, they're going to pick him at 2.
Okay. All right, we're quarterback off the board, and that puts the New York Giants up at 3, no quarterbacks. You don't think Jackson Dart's in play here, do you?
No. I think the
agree.
team trades back into the first to get Dart, being us, Cleveland, if they don't go Shadur. I think a team moves back into the first. I do think Dart goes in round 1, though.
Yeah, I agree. I know Mel Kiper had him going 9 at New Orleans.
Yep.
Which I think is a fair point. I think a point can be made, but I think that is the earliest he would go, and I think it would only be the Saints. I don't think anyone trades up to get him in that range. I think we're looking at more 20 onward for Jackson Dart in my eyes.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you and I were talking earlier today, and I think his range is 20 to 32 in the back end of the first.
Yeah, I personally still not on board with taking him in the first round, but I do see it happening.
Yeah. I'm going to have him in my top 32 on my big board for whenever we do that. So I get taking him in the first. So now here in New York,
Travis
top 2
Hunter,
quarterbacks gone. The Giants are sitting pretty here at 3rd, but they are furious, dude, because they need Cam Ward, they need Shadur Sanders, they need one of the two. Now, if I'm personally in our
eyes, Aaron Rodgers isn't on this team.
Oh yeah, no, they still only have Tommy DeVito.
Tommy Cutlets, baby.
Oh, man. I lean Abdul Carter here. I think just getting a defensive line is more important than getting a corner. They went out and they signed a corner in free agency. They signed a secondary safety. And then they went out and re-signed Darius Slayton. And we still have Wandale. It's not an ideal receiving. We don't have a number 2 because we have Neighbors as our 1. But I think stacking that defensive line with Brian Birds, Kayvon Thibodeaux, Abdul Carter, Dexter Lawrence in the middle, that's a really good defensive line, dude.
Yeah, no, I agree with Carter there, and then it doesn't force your hand into having to pick up that 5th-year option of Kayvon Thibodeaux, who's just been okay for you guys. He hasn't really lived up to the draft stock, but he's been banged up. But you don't have to pick up the 5th-year option or sign him long term now. You've already got the replacement in hand in Abdul Carter. Plus, you can never have enough pass rushers. You're in a division with great quarterbacks: Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels, Dak Prescott. The best way to beat those guys is to pressure those guys. So you can never generate enough pass rush.
Yeah, no, I agree. The best way to beat those guys is what Philly did to Kansas City in the Super Bowl, and that's their front 4 got the Patrick Mahomes constantly. They didn't blitz at all, and it was just their front guys getting to him. And if we have a line that can do that with Carter, Burns, Thibodeaux, Lawrence, that's a really elite line. Now, don't get me wrong. Travis Hunter does fit 2 needs here. We still need an outside corner, and we still need another outside receiver. So Hunter could come in here and pull the double duty. I ultimately think it's down to those 2 guys, though. It's Hunter or Carter.
Yeah.
I would lean Carter. You can't get enough pass rush in the NFL.
I also lean Abdul Carter, so we're locking him in at 3. And now that puts New England up at 4. New England probably was like, man, really hoping you guys went Travis Hunter. Abdul Carter falls into their lap. Unfortunately, that's not the case for them here. So I'm looking at Travis Hunter here, and that's where I'm going.
Happy. I think they're happy regardless because they're cool with Carter or Hunter, I think. And if Shadur and Cam Ward go 1 and 2, they're regardless going to get one of their 2 guys. And I think it's going to be Travis Hunter here. I think they're really going to go out here and they got to get Drake May a guy, dude. They don't have any receivers.
So
Dude. Travis Hunter can be that guy.
Yeah, I think in this case, Travis Hunter, if he ends up in New England, he's going to be the receiver. I think he'll play more snaps at receiver. I'm also of the mindset that I think Travis Hunter is going to go out there, and I think he can do it, both sides. I know everybody's just trying to piggyback on the one, but
it's risky.
It is risky, but try it.
No,
see how it goes. And,
I think
if it's a struggle, then start, putting him in, dime packages on defense, full wide receiver sets. You make him a full-time receiver. In New England's case, if he goes to a team who's receiver heavy, you build packages for him on offense while he plays majority defense. But until I see that he can't do it, I'm going to give him the opportunity to do it.
I get that. He showed that he did it in Colorado, and he did it amazingly. I would prefer him be it doesn't matter which one you go with, full-time corner, full-time receiver, doesn't matter. And then I want him to play the other one like 50%, 40% of the snaps. I don't want him out there the whole time because I do want him fresh at some points throughout the game. So I would go Hunter here, dude, for sure.
Okay. Would you even consider Armin Membu or Will Campbell here, or you're just locked in on Travis Hunter? You can't turn down the talent.
No, if they think Will Campbell is a left tackle, they take him, and same with Membu. I think those would be the three guys I would look at here. Mason Graham's obviously on the table, but they went out and they spent a ton of money for the interior defensive line.
On Milt Williams. They still have Christian Barmore, who he's got the blood clots, but if he comes back healthy, though. We're locking in Hunter here at 4.
Yeah, it would be Hunter or one of the linemen, but I would lean Hunter for sure. You got to get Drake May, that dude.
Yeah, I think there's a chance that I think Josh Connerly could be there at 38 for them. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibilities that he falls out of the first round.
Yeah, that's definitely for sure. That could happen.
Yeah. Next up at 5, the Jacksonville Jaguars. You brought up his name, Mason Graham. I'm running the pick to the podium here in my eyes. I think Mason Graham to Jacksonville is an incredible fit. It's what they need on that defense. I think it'll be a good pairing with Trayvon Walker, Josh Allen Hines. I think that's what this defense is needing, and that's an interior lineman, and there's no better interior prospect than Mason Graham in this class.
Yeah, I agree. They need an anchor on the defensive line, and it's Mason Graham, and he's going to be that guy for them. Hopefully for the next 10 years, they can just anchor down that defense, stop the run, stop the short downage, and be that guy for Jacksonville. Where else would you lean? You looking at Tet? You looking at one of the linemen just to protect Trevor Lawrence? One of the tight ends, maybe?
Yeah.
You think it's a little too early?
I think it's a little too early. I
agree.
I like Tyler Warren, but I think they're gonna try to roll with Brenton Strange, at least for a year. They drafted him in the second last year. I know, different regime. Ted, it's a little early for my liking for the receivers, being him and Golden. So I would probably end up leaning Campbell or Membu if I went somewhere else and having them slide in the guard. Here. So, but I think Mason Graham's too much. I think there's a chance there's a good guard available at 36, whether it's Gray Zabel. That's unlikely, but if he's there, that's a lock and loaded pick. So Mason Graham here is far and away my favorite pick to Jacksonville.
Yeah, I think what Mason Graham brings to Jacksonville is far more talented than what anyone else can bring. Like, I get Campbell and Membu bring a lot to the table, but they don't bring the tackle to Jacksonville. They don't need the tackle. They'd have to kick inside. Mason Graham's going to be out there majority of the defensive plays. So I really like Mason Graham here. The Raiders.
At 6, the Las Vegas Raiders on the clock. To me, you know where I want to go, and it's Ashton Jeanty.
I'm with you. That's okay. What Vegas has done this offseason. It's kind like, where else would you go? Like, let's go BPA. Well, who's the top guy on your board?
Ashton Jeanty.
Mine's Jeanty. I agree. Okay. So it's Jeanty, and then let's go the Raiders' main need. What is it?
The running back.
I agree. It's like running back or defensive line or corner. Mason Graham's off the board. You going to go Jahad Barron here? It's too early.
I do like Jahdae Barron. He's probably going to end up in my top 10 on my board, but yeah, it would with a prospect like Jeanty on the board, it makes me think like I can get the corner class is deep. I know the running back class is deep as well, but I could get a guy like maybe Savon Ravel at 37 or Maxwell Harrison. Maybe he falls out of the first round, the kid from Kentucky.
Amos.
Trey Amos from Ole Miss. Ben Morrison. Maybe I'm going to take the bullet on him with the hip injury. Take him in the second round. Notre Dame's kid. I think there's a lot of top end corners that'll be there at 37. That I know it's a deep running back class, but I'm going to take the guy of this deep running back class, the one who has the least likely chance to miss per se in Ashton Jeanty, and I think he's a perfect fit for what Pete Carroll wants to do. He'll be Geno Smith's best friend in the backfield. It opens up that offense to another level, and I think it just helps them compete in a really tough division where they're going to have to be a gritty team, and Ashton Jeanty brings that to this offense.
Yeah, Jeanty in that division brings what they need. Like, if they're up late in games, you need someone that's going to go out there and run the last 10 minutes off the clock. Jeanty picks up first downs. He gets short yardage. He can catch out of the backfield. He opens up this offense so much, dude, with him and Bowers, and Myers is a really good number 2. Sure, they don't have a number 1 receiver, but they don't need it. They have Brock Bowers, dude. He is the number 1. What Will Campbell brings to the table, what Membu brings to the table here for Vegas, it's almost like Jacksonville. They would have to kick in. They don't need a tackle. I think Jeanty brings the most to the table right here for Vegas. And I think he puts them in a position to be like a really competitive team this year, dude.
All right, so we're locking in Jeanty?
Yeah, dude. I'm in for Jeanty.
This is going smoothly. All right, New York Jets up at 7.
I think this is where we're gonna alter.
Yeah? Because I'm locked in on Armin Membu. He'd be top of my board here. They need a right tackle. They need a right tackle bad.
I'm with you, dude.
Membu is a right tackle. That is where he's played the majority, all of his college career. He's been their right tackle. Will Campbell, sure, the shorter arms, though. He's never really been the right tackle. He's always been the left tackle. So I think you lean towards a more comfort thing. Membu, real good athlete. He'd be a great anchor pair with Olu Fashanu, who they drafted last year at left tackle, Elijah Vera Tucker at right guard, Joe Tippmann at center. Like, you got the buildings of a great offensive line. Protect Justin Fields, see if Justin Fields can be that guy. Membu, to me, is a great fit for the Jets. I think he should be at top of their board if he's there.
I thought you were going to go with Tyler Warren, and I was going to have to be like, let's really look at offensive line here for them. And yeah, what you said, like, you need to get Justin Fields another tackle, dude. Like, and Membu is going to be that guy. It's not going to be Will Campbell for them because they have Vera Tucker, and he never got his shot at tackle. They immediately kicked him in, and that's what they would do with Will Campbell. He would never get his shot at tackle, where Membu can be the tackle for Justin Fields. Like, they have Garrett Wilson, they have Breece Hall. You can get another receiver later.
I can get a weapon at 42. Elijah Arroyo, Mason Taylor, Jaden Higgins, Jalen Knoll. One of these guys is going to be there. I can't get a right tackle of prospect compared to Membu.
No, there's not going to be one of those guys. Like, Membu and one of the other tight ends sounds so much better than Tyler Warren and one of the lesser tackles in the draft.
Yep.
That I was with you, dude. I was really thought you were going to go Tyler Warren here, though. But yeah, I'm locking in Membu.
Membu. That puts us up at 8 for Carolina. Panthers. Yeah, definitely. Do we think this is a trade back scenario?
For who, though? Who's trading up? I think all these teams want to trade back. Who's going to trade up, though?
Dallas for Will Campbell. He slides into the Zach Martin role of this offense.
I think there's a chance Will Campbell just falls to fucking 12.
Possibly. I can't see him getting past San Francisco at 11.
I really like Jahad Barron to San Fran. I'm locking that in a bunch of mocks lately. I really like that fit a lot. But I agree. Like, there's definitely a chance Will Campbell doesn't fall to 12. Obviously,
yeah. But I think whatever edge rusher Carolina wants is going to be there at 12.
No, I kind of agree. I would agree to that. I just, I don't know if a team's going to be willing to trade up for Will Campbell.
Okay. Tet, do you think there's a team who'd want to move up for Tet or Tyler Warren?
I mean, like, I would look at Dallas as a receiver option, but I think they can get Ted or Golden at 12.
Mm-hmm.
I think Will Campbell could be there at 12. I think one of the edge rushers for Dallas could be there at 12. I think Tyler Booker could be there at 12. I think there's too many options for Dallas
Okay.
to even move up.
So we stay put here for Carolina.
Yeah,
Ultimately, though,
would.
I do think they're going to try to move back.
I agree. I think a lot of these teams are going to try to move back.
What edge rusher are you leaning towards?
If I had to go edge right here, I would go Jalen Walker.
Okay,
probably.
That's the one I would go, because I mean he's going to be lower on my board than Mike Green, but I think with the off-field issues that Mike Green has, I think we're going to see him fall a little bit closer to the mid to later portion of the first, whereas like I think Jalen Walker and just his Joker ability on defense is going to push him up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Carolina, that's where I've been mocking him a lot lately. So I'm on board with Jalen Walker here to the Panthers.
Yeah, like a lot of these teams that need edge rushers, being like Carolina, New Orleans, Atlanta, they need more than just the edge guy. And that's what Walker brings to this defense. He brings versatility where he can drop back, he can cover a little bit, he can play linebacker, he can play edge, he can just play around. Like you said, he's a Joker card. I think he adds a lot to Carolina's defense.
All right, so we're locking in Jalen Walker.
Cool.
All right, that puts us up with the Saints at 9. This one's...
And this is why Jackson Dart makes sense.
Yeah. Like, had they not locked up Juwan Johnson to this 3-year, $30 million deal, I would fight for Tyler Warren here.
I think Warren's still on the table. I think he is. I think he adds so much to this offense.
But I don't think they're going to... I just don't see them picking him. But
I think it's Tet Golden, Tyler Warren. That's where I'm looking at here, or one of the edge rushers if you want to go there.
Oh, I would have said Will Campbell. Put him next to Trevor Penning.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I'm going to bring up Mikael Williams. I know you're not going to like that, but he's going to go early.
I think they would go Shamar Stewart over Mike Hale.
I think both those guys would be in the running here for this pick.
Yeah, there's too many guys on the board here for the Saints.
I do like Tyler Warren a lot here, though. I think, like, don't get me wrong, like 2 of their top 3 receivers last year were tight ends. So it's not out of the realm of possibility of them using multiple tight ends. And don't get, like, Tyler Warren is way better than any tight end on this team.
Yeah. But
who's their other receiver, though? Like,
is two tight ends really Kellen Moore's shtick?
I think anything can be Kellen Moore's shtick, dude.
Oh,
he's
so you think
talented.
You think he's versatile to adapt his offense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's done it.
I think that's a
Philly's offense wasn't anywhere near Dallas's or San Diego's.
So the two on paper is Rashid Shaheed. He's coming off the injury.
Coming off a major injury.
Yeah. And then it would be Kelvin Austin Jr. So do you consider Teteroa McMillan here or Matthew Golden? Or are you just locked in to get a weapon?
I would go one of the 2 receivers or Warren. So it's getting a weapon. And I get the whole tight end they paid Juwan Jennings. Tyler Warren's better than him. And they're lacking so many weapons. Adding another tight end, it's still in the realm of possibility. I like Ted here a lot, though, too. Because Chris Olave is not guaranteed, dude.
Yeah.
If he goes down again, what happens?
Yeah. I think there's a chance they consider Matthew Golden, just bring speed to the Saints offense, but my comp for Matthew Golden would be Chris Olave. I think they're really similar. He's a little faster.
You think they just try to move on from Olave, though? And just replace him?
I don't. I think Chris Olave is too good of a receiver to just try to replace.
I agree, but you think New Orleans has cap money for all this, though? New Orleans going to be in cap hell at some point. They just keep pushing it back.
Yeah, I think they'll figure it out. They always do.
But hear me out. Why pay a very injury-prone Chris Olave when you could just quote for quote replace him? And it's not easy to replace Chris Olave. Do not think we're saying Golden can step on the field and just be Chris Olave. That's not how the NFL works. But he's very similar to what Olave can do.
So do we want to go Matthew Golden here then? So I'm fine with
Golden.
that.
I'm cool with Golden.
I think that's different. That gives it a different approach. It's usually first receiver off the board, if you're not counting Travis Hunter, is Tet.
Mm-hmm.
So Matthew Golden here at 9. I dig it. We're disrespecting Matt Golden here, PFF. All right.
I know McShay had him going 12 to Dallas, so it's in the realm of possibility that he goes this early.
Yeah, and Jeremiah has him as his wide receiver 1. Like the Golden wide receiver 1 thing's picking up steam.
It's picking up a lot, dude. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I know Tet didn't run at the combine. He did run it at his private workout, and he ran a 4.5, which is great for him. That matches tape.
He's huge. He's huge.
Yeah,
dude.
yeah. All right, so that puts Chicago up at 10. I think edge rush here is probably likely. I don't know about Will Campbell. They more so need a tackle. Can you convince me about Amari and Hampton? Yes.
Can I talk you into Mario Hampton, please?
You could. I was going to bring him up after edge rush.
I think he goes, dude. I think I think the Bears have done enough offensive line wise that they can pass on Will Campbell here. Sure, you could pick Will Campbell to help out right tackle. If you think he's a right tackle, sure, then it would work out well there.
But do you like the edge rusher you're going to get in the second at 39 or 41 more than who here? Shamar Stewart, Mikael Williams. I know you're higher on him than I am. What about Kenneth Grant here, though? I've been hearing a lot of buzz that Kenneth Grant could get top 10 hype.
I think he's going to go a little bit earlier than most mock draft people have him going, which is around the 20 range. I think he goes middle of the first now at this point. Kenneth Grant's picking up a good amount of steam. The edge rusher for Cleveland at, what's their next pick? 39 would probably be like, oh, I keep doing the Cleveland thing. Yeah, Chicago would be like,
you're probably looking at like Nick Scorton.
That's exactly the name I'm on. It would be Nick Scorton, Landon Jackson, Prince, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce the guy.
Princely Umami Ellen.
Umami Ellen. I can usually say that guy's name too.
There might be a chance James Pierce is there. I
don't think so.
Yeah. I'm cool to go Hampton though, just because edge rush. Everyone is here sort of the same value, and
that's how I'm looking at it. Like Mikael Williams, I know is question marks
Hampton,
here.
You have Hampton, a gap between Hampton and like RB3.
I have Hampton right there with Genty. Yeah, I have them very similar. They're very close.
No, I'm cool with Hampton here.
I think it could happen. I think what he brings to the Bears offense is huge, dude. Caleb Williams needs an every down back to help him. Like, you need someone reliable behind him. I think
Ben Johnson still wants to run 2 backs, but
of course,
I think Hampton fits the Montgomery role per se.
Perfect.
And Swift is more off in the Jahmyr Gibbs role, just a way lesser version.
He's a very poor man's Gibbs.
Yeah. All right, so we're locking in Amari and Hampton here at 10.
I love that pick, dude.
Okay.
Because even if they don't go edge at 39, there might be a tackle there that they like. The kid from Minnesota might be there at 39. And at 42, you can go edge, interior defensive line. There's a lot of ways for Cleveland to oh my God, Chicago. To go here. I gotta stop. I gotta stop doing this.
Yeah, Chicago's no longer on the clock. It's San Francisco at 11.
Thank God. Can't get that confused.
Offensive lines in need, defensive lines in need, corners in need. So I wouldn't even rule out Tet McMillan here. I think wide receivers, especially
I like that.
Ayuk coming off the ACL injury. Who knows what's going on with Pearsall? Juwan Jennings is fine, but maybe they do try to move on from Ayuk in a year, and we're looking at just getting younger at the position, getting cheaper at the position, and you roll with Tet, Ricky Pearsall, Juwan Jennings. I don't think it's going to happen, but I would not rule out Tetairoa McMillan at 11 to San Francisco if he falls there.
I wouldn't rule it out, but there's a chance that they trade Ayuk sooner than next year. They might dish him in the middle of the season. There's always trade talks around Ayuk.
If he's showing he's healthy, they're not going to. If he's having a bad year, I don't think they dip him.
No,
I don't think they're going to get the value for him.
I think Tet would be in the running here, but I'm looking at like Will Campbell. I'm looking at Jahad Barron. One of those guys probably in particular.
Yeah,
Maybe Kenneth Grant as a long shot.
I was going to bring in Kenneth Grant, Jahdae Barron, and Will Campbell as the three guys here.
That's and where I would also be looking.
I would lean Will Campbell. They lost their left guard in free agency, Aaron Banks, who was not great to begin with.
They need a lot of corner help, dude.
I know, but the corner class is way better than the lineman class. I think you can get a guy like Darian Porter at 43. I even think Savon Ravel could be available. Ben Morrison, like same guys we mentioned with whoever we brought up with corners. New England.
Amos. Yeah. No. I agreed with that. So yeah, lock in Will Campbell here. San Fran always picks good linemen, dude, and that's what Will Campbell is. He's a guy that can go on that line in day one, kick it inside, be a guard, or even play tackle if they feel he can play tackle.
Yeah, that puts Dallas on the clock at 12. I think Will Campbell would have been their ideal pick. So
yeah,
Teteroa McMillan, I think, is
on the board
play
for
here.
Sure.
I wouldn't rule out Tyler Warren. I know we did that in our first mock. I picked Tyler Warren at Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
Jake Ferguson isn't stopping me from picking Tyler Warren. Neither is Luke Schoonmaker. I know they picked him in the second, but Tyler Warren's a different breed, and Dallas needs help. So if they do want to go offense, maybe they think Tyler Warren is a better option and a better weapon for their offense than Teteroa McMillan is going forward there. I also wouldn't rule out Jahdae Barron. The Cowboys always need defensive back help as well. So I would say it is the top three guys on the PFF board here, Jahdae, and Tyler Warren.
I would throw in Tyler Booker as a long shot guard, Alabama, as just a guy that could possibly go here. They need a lot of interior help. Will Campbell happened to go the pick before. Maybe they just pull the bullet on Tyler Booker because they need a guard that bad. But I would lean either Barron or Ted McMillan here. I'll let you pick.
Yeah, I think I would go Ted. I think Dallas is going to. I think they're going to try to create firepower on this offense. Jalen Tolbert, Brandon Cooks, they're not the answer next to CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, if I had to go between those two, I think you made the right pick.
All right, Miami's up at 13. The board has not fallen nicely for them.
Jahdae Barron's still here. He could help out a lot.
Jahdae Barron is still here. Yeah, I was thinking more of the offensive line scenario. Yeah. It's Kelvin Banks, Josh Simmons, Tyler Booker. No. I think Kenneth Grant or Jahdae Barron would be the pick here.
You said Kenneth Grant or
Jahdae Barron.
I would lean Barron. Let me quick check out the tackle board. I think it's too early for Simmons. I think it's too early for Banks. It's too early for Zabel and Connolly. Interior is just Tyler Booker. Tyler Booker's not out of the possibility, but he's slower. He doesn't really fit the system. I see all those comps. I get that.
Mm-hmm. And Miami, they just don't take they just don't take linemen in the first round. Like
it's true.
They're like Atlanta with edge rushers. Like every year we're mocking a lineman of the Dolphins in round one, and they never take one.
It doesn't happen. No, that is true. And Jahdae Barron, he's quick, dude. I think he's a special corner, dude. I think he's going to be really good.
Mm-hmm. And they need the help next to Jalen Ramsey. Like they're rolling out here with Storm Duck,
who's not he's not young anymore, dude. So, I like Barron a lot.
All right,
I think that's a good pick for Miami.
Jahdae Barron, 14 for Indianapolis. Do we have to talk about it? Tyler Warren's on the board.
Yeah, Tyler Warren on the board at 14. I think you got to lock that in. I think it's just a lock. I get it's like.
I wouldn't push back. I wouldn't push back if you said Tyler Booker.
That's a good pick.
They need guard help. They lost Will Fries. Tight end class is a little deep, but
I think you gotta go. I think you gotta go Tyler Warren here,
I don't
dude.
think you could. Yeah.
As much as I really think Tyler Booker goes pretty early, Tyler Warren just opens up this offense, dude. And one of these quarterbacks needs a guy like this, dude. If they want Anthony Richardson to succeed, you push your chips in, dude.
They would have the most deadliest red zone offense.
Oh,
Anthony
yeah, dude.
Richardson,
Him, Pittman.
Johnny Taylor,
Yeah.
Warren. Yeah. All right, we go Tyler Warren. I'm fine with
Yeah,
it.
yeah, dude. I think that's a
It's
lock.
chalk. But all right, Atlanta at 15.
Like, I usually like Colston Loveland to Indianapolis. I like that a lot too. But for Tyler Warren to be here, I just love it.
Yeah. So we got the Falcons up at 15. Oh, first need according to the PFF Big Board, wide receiver.
It's a little weird to me. I get the center need, but I'm definitely looking at defense here. I'm looking at like Campbell. I think it's a little early for Pierce.
So Jahad Campbell, he's got a torn labrum. Does that worry you?
It does a little bit, but I think this is where his window is now open, 15. I don't think he's going to go earlier than this because of the labrum injury. That's obviously something like your doctor has to be cool with him now. So that's just an added bonus now that you have to hit with Jahad Campbell. I think he adds a lot here. Like I mentioned earlier with Atlanta and New Orleans and Carolina, they need more on defense than just edge. And Campbell does a little bit of it both, too. He can play edge. He can kick it out as a linebacker. He's a really good off-ball linebacker from the outside. I like Campbell here a lot. I like Donovan Ezeraku.
I think Ezeraku, if they would go edge, like straight edge, I think I would lean Ezeraku. But could I interest you or talk you into one Nick Imanwari here for the Falcons? You brought up Jahad Campbell's ability to kind of multiple positions. Plays off-ball linebacker. He can do some edge stuff.
Down into the box.
Imanwari brings so much of a chess piece on defense. He can play off-ball linebacker. He's got the size and speed to cover a tight end. He can run, deep routes at wide receiver or at safety, backpedaling, tracking the ball. I think he's an interesting piece. His tapes iffy. Like, sometimes he flashes and it's incredible, and there's other times like, dude, this guy's still really raw as a prospect.
That's what it is. But yeah, he flashes.
He tested out of the water, and he's such a piece of clay that I think a guy like Raheem Morris, who's a defensive coach, would love to mold. So I just wanted to bring him to the table here because I think his range also starts here.
You want to go like molding? No, like Mikael Williams is a guy that you can mold too. He's a very moldable piece of clay, as you called it. I like that analogy. I'm looking at guys like Stewart, Williams, Ezeraku, Jahad Campbell.
My problem with like Mike Hale is Atlanta plays stand-up, their stand-up edge.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Mike Hale's a stand-up rusher. So I think you're planting him on the line, and he's going to be a great run defender at the next level. Yeah. But I don't know how much pass rush he's going to give you as an off ball because Atlanta playing 3-4. So I think that kind of rules McHale out because I just don't think that fits his skill set.
I get that. I'm looking at. Yeah, where are you leaning? You still at?
I would go Campbell or Imanwari. Campbell or Imanwari.
If I had to go between those guys, I would lean Campbell.
Okay.
I do like Imanwari, but I think Campbell goes before him.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to bring him up as a potential option because it's not a piece we see mocked often to Atlanta.
No. So I agree to that.
I like Jahad Campbell here. All right, that puts us at 16 with the Cardinals. They need interior offensive line. They need interior defensive line. They need corner help. So the board is falling nicely for Arizona. Will Johnson still on the board. Kenneth Grant still on the board. I'd even throw out Gray Zabel here as well, and Tyler Booker.
I would say it's a little early for Zabel. I think Booker could go here definitely. I think I have it narrowed down to like Booker, Will Johnson, and Mike Green. Maybe Donovan Ezeraku as well. Kenneth Grant. So maybe those five guys are kind of the guys I'm looking at here.
Yeah, I would narrow it to, if I had to pick the top two guys on my board here for Arizona, it would be Will Johnson and Kenneth Grant, the two Michigan kids.
I think my top two would be Johnson and Booker. So Johnson's in both our top twos.
Okay. I think that's right. They need another outside corner. They got Max Melton and the other guy whose name is slipping my mind. He's their nickel corner. He's
I'm not
good.
going to sit here and tell you Arizona's nickel corner.
It's the kid from Syracuse Fusion, Garrett Williams. That's their nickel corner. I got it. I got there in the end. And then their other starting corners, Sean Murphy Bunting, who's a little older. He's, I think, only a 1-year deal. So I think Will Johnson's a good pick here. So,
I think Will Johnson really adds to that defense too. They need so much defensively, and Will Johnson's a corner you can just lock out there. He's gonna stop anybody. And hey, man, I would love to watch Will Johnson and Marv going fucking back to back in camp, dude. Give me that every day of the week.
Yeah, it's if Will Johnson can stay healthy. That's the biggest concern. He's hurt again, so a little bit of a worry. Before we make the Bengals pick, let's shout out our friends over at W Energy. W prides itself on full ingredient disclosure, no artificial dyes, no sugars, none of that nonsense. They're clean energy, better energy, no jitter, like there's no crash from them. They're good stuff. They also have hydration line. If you just gotta get a little boost for your water intake, maybe you just don't like water. Boring. You need a little flavor pop there. So they got stuff there. And from today until Monday, if you use our code, draft it up at checkout, you won't get 10% off. You won't get 20% off. You'll get a nice 30% off. So visit our friends over at W Energy. That's DUBBY. They got a mobile app. Search it on your app store. It'll be there, or go to their website, www.w.gg, and use the code DRAFTEDUP. Today till Monday, 30% off your order at W Energy. Eat that dub. Be better with W Energy.
30% off. Hey,
30%,
that's quite the deal, doggy. Hey, you shocked me with that. Hopefully we can afford that.
It's Creator Week over at W. I got an email today saying that they're doing a 30% off your codes this week.
Hell yeah.
So
go use
shout
that
out
code,
our friends
everybody.
over at W. Yeah, you'll get 30% off. Great deal.
Hell yeah.
All right, Cincinnati's on the clock, and this is defense.
Any type of defensive player towards the top of the board is on the table here. It doesn't matter. Interior defensive, edge rusher, linebacker, corner, safety.
Yeah.
Whoever you throw out here, I will 100% agree with. It does not matter to me.
Yeah.
They need defensive help so much, dude.
Yeah. I'm not going to bring up Starks and Eamon War here because I think the Bengals can wait to 49-81 and grab Xavier Watts, who fits that scheme. Their defensive coordinator was Notre Dame's defensive coordinator last year. So there's familiarity there with Xavier Watts and him. So I think that's the option that's going to happen. I know maybe
I like that fit a lot.
Big braining it too much, but I think it helps us narrow down our board here. So I would honestly lean Kenneth Grant would be my top guy here for the Bengals. The Bengals have always needed a guy who they could just plant them in the middle of the defensive line and just eat up blocks.
Mm-hmm.
So he would be my top pick, but I understand going edge because Trey Hendrickson, reports are coming out that he's willing to sit out all year, which I think is a mistake on his part. He's 31 years old. Probably not the best move on his part for his future, but it's something to consider. And they did lose Sam Hubbard, who not much of a speed rusher, more of a power guy. So maybe Shamar Stewart's in play here. He can kind of play interior and play outside. So I personally would go Kenneth Grant, but edge rusher, I would understand going more towards there just because of the situation they're in.
Edge rusher wise, I would be like Mike Green or Ezeraku, but I like Kenneth Grant a lot here. I'm 100% cool with that.
Oh, okay. I agree. I think there's a chance an edge rusher falls to 49, and I think there's a chance Xavier Watts makes it to 81. That's slim, but crazier things have happened. Safeties aren't overly valued, as you can see here. Like PFF has Malachi Starks ranked 9, and we haven't even mentioned his name really.
Yeah. I don't think Starks goes anywhere close to 9. I think his window starts in the middle of the first. But you look at guys like Brian Branch fell out of the first. I think there's a chance Starks goes really early second round, and there's no shame to that. There's so much talent in like the first 10 picks of the second round every year. So I think Starks could fall a little bit.
Okay. So we want to go Kenneth Grant? I'm cool with it.
Yeah, I would be cool with Mike Green, Kenneth Grant.
Or do you want to take more of a pass rushing interior guy in Derek Harmon? Or Walter Nolan?
Ooh, Derek Harmon. I think Harmon goes before Nolan. I think Kenneth Grant brings a lot
Okay.
to Cincinnati here.
Let's look at him. The Seahawks are on the clock here at 18. They need interior offensive line help. They could use an edge rusher and some defensive help, but the board's falling nicely. Kelvin Banks is here. We think he can kick inside. Gray Zabel's here. He's kicking inside.
Tyler Booker.
Tyler Booker also here, so I think we could go interior offensive line here. I think the board fell really nicely for the Seahawks. Anybody you want to bring up that's not interior?
Your boy Nick Imawore would be a good fit here.
I do like that. Mike McDonald kind of getting his chess piece on defense. He's done wonders with
Kyle Hamilton.
Yeah.
He's a tall safety, just like Kyle Hamilton. He plays a lot like Kyle Hamilton.
Yeah.
And
I think he's a better athlete than Kyle Hamilton, but I think Kyle Hamilton is a much better football player on tape coming into the league.
Yeah. Yeah, like, I think what Hamilton brings, like football IQ wise, is way more than
Imawari.
Yeah.
I could be swayed to Imawari. You got 2 picks in the second, 50-52. There's probably one of the linemen there.
You want to take that, Rick? When you brought up interior line, what kind of guard you looking at 52? Where safety, it is what it is.
Yeah. So I like Marcus Bowe. I don't know if you've got the chance to watch him yet. I think he could go. I think he could go in the 50s. Tyler Booker, his range is so open. I think he's gone before that, but it wouldn't surprise me if he fell too, just because of his lack of athletic.
50.
He's not a good athlete, but he's a good football player. But Cooper DeJean was a good football player, and he fell into the second round.
That's true.
So, like, crazier things happen. I like Tate Ratledge, but he's more of a third round guy. He doesn't provide much of an upside, but he's a guy that could plant in the middle right away.
I think Tate Ratledge, he's something to look at.
Donovan Jackson
last year.
Donovan Jackson, though, is probably there at 50.
Donovan Jackson will probably be there at 50. And
I think he's a really good guard.
That a lot. I do like that a lot, for sure.
So I'm cool going Imawari. What about Colston Loveland?
I don't hate it. I like that a lot. You know, I love Loveland.
So, like, maybe we can fuck around here with Seattle's pick and not just draft need.
Seattle's not a team that I don't think is going to go out there and draft a tight end in the first round.
Maybe. But there's familiarity. Mike McDonald was in Michigan. Colston Loveland was there. I know, different side of the ball. And John Schneider, Seattle's general manager, doesn't really draft, like, the meat and potatoes positions early, like the center's guard.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see them pushing that off, and then safety doesn't really fit that either, just tight end. So, hey, shoot, they're drafting an edge rusher. Just going to talk myself into Mike Green here.
I like Mike Green a lot. We're definitely in the Mike Green window, for sure.
Yeah.
Seattle's all over the place, dude. Seattle has so many picks in this draft that we can go anywhere because of how they have 10 picks this draft, I think.
Okay. I'm going to try to push Loveland. I think he's top of my board here. Kubiak, who's now their offensive coordinator, ran more 2 tight end sets, being from New Orleans, than anybody else in the NFL last year. Seattle's only got Noah Fant. He's not a needle mover. Colston Loveland gives you, like, Noah Fant could play the online tight end, do the blocking stuff, do the boring stuff. And Colston Loveland could be the other option there and bring you more work in the receiving game that I think Kubiak's going to look for.
You're going a way I really don't love. Like, Sam Darnold had Hawkinson last year, and he just didn't use him.
Well, Hawkinson was coming off, but Johnny Munt was getting work. Josh Oliver was getting work. Like, the Vikings were utilizing tight ends. There,
but not as much as Hawkinson should have been gotten.
But I think it was the injury. I just think Hawkinson, it was just a sort of ease into, and he had that one game where he had like 11 catches.
Yeah, you don't think you can get like Mason Taylor at 50?
You can. I think Mason Taylor and Arroyo are there at 50. Okay, so sell me on a guy then. So I'm Colston Loveland. He's just top of my actual board of guys who are available.
If I had to make this pick, I would probably lean Mike Green. I think he's fallen a little bit. I think we could really use the edge rush, a guy that can just get to the quarterback. Defensively wise, I think we're leaning defense here with this pick. And then like 50-52 would be some type of lineman and then some type of weapon being a receiver or Mason Taylor or Arroyo, one of those guys. But I would look at Mike Green here or...
I'm cool with Mike Green or James Pierce here because I think Seattle's in the business where they can just get a situational pass rusher because they got Leonard Williams, who's not much of a pass rusher. He's more of a little do-it-all. And whereas they can just draft a situational guy to pair with Boye Mafe. So Mike Green and James Pierce, I think, fit that role splendidly. So I'm cool going Mike Green here.
I would be cool with James Pierce as well. I just didn't bring him up because I thought you didn't really like Pierce as much as Mike Green.
Oh, I like James Pierce. I think it's I don't know if the NFL is going to like his behavioral stuff.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I'm cool with Mike Green.
Right, let's go Mike Green. Tampa up at 19. They probably wanted Mike Green.
Yeah.
So I think Ezraku's more their type. I also wouldn't rule out Pierce. I even think you could start bringing up those beefy ends, Shamar Stewart and Mykel Williams here. I think they fit. I also wouldn't rule out Colston Loveland to the Bucks here.
Colston Loveland would be a pretty good pick. I do like that.
Cade Otton, he had to run last year when Godwin was out, but new offensive coordinator. So do they value the tight end position, or is it going to be similar to the same offense? So if Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are healthy with Jalen McMillan, is the tight end just kind of there? So I don't love that landing spot for Colston Loveland, but I love the prospect of another offensive weapon for Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, I do like that a lot for Baker. I'm worried defensively here for the Bucks to be taking a tight end.
That's fair. They could also use corner help. The corner board's not great.
I think they could use every level of defense. Yeah. They could use an edge rusher. They could use a linebacker. Like if Jahad Campbell fell, I think Tampa would instantly pull the trigger on Jahad Campbell.
I agree. Yeah, so I think this is edge, though.
Yeah, I'm looking at guys, particularly James Pierce, Ezraku, I really like. I like Shamar Stewart a lot here. A big, fast defensive end, JPP style, when he was there in Tampa and New York. That kind of defensive lineman, like a freak athlete.
Todd Bowles would love him.
Yeah, Todd Bowles would love Stewart. Yeah, dude,
I like Shamar. I like Shamar Stewart here.
I can dig it. Yeah. I think that's a great pick for Tampa. Yeah.
All right, we're locking in Shamar Stewart to the Bucks at 19. Denver up at 20. This is usually
Colston Loveland would be great here.
Colston Loveland pick, but I mean, does Evan Ingram stop me from drafting Colston Loveland?
Kind of think so.
Okay. Do we get a receiver here? Do we like a running back? Like, do we like Trevion Henderson enough to go here? Or Quinshon Judkins?
I think the NFL is going to like Trevion Henderson a little bit more than Judkins. I think Judkins is going to be a second round, a very early second round back. I do think Henderson falls into the first.
Yeah, but I mean, Denver, do they wait till 51 to draft their running back?
But are you going to get a game changer like Henderson at 51? I don't think so, dude.
I don't think so either. And
the way the running back board fell, like if Hampton was here, I think they pulled the trigger on Hampton. But Hampton went 10. I think it's Trevion Henderson or Luther Burton or Abuka. I think Abuka would be preferred over Luther Burton.
Okay. If I would go receiver here, I would lean Igbukah. I think he gives Sean Payton his Michael Thomas. Just a middle of the field worker. That's a bad comp. I'm not comping Igbukah to Michael Thomas.
Abuka's that kind of guy, though. He works the middle a lot. He's very reliable hands throughout the route process.
I don't hate Walter Nolan, Mykel Williams, or Derek Harmon here.
I like Derek Harmon here. I like Harmon a lot here. I think he's going to go pretty early. Just something about Henderson just keeps calling my name. He just keeps calling me back here.
Yeah, because like chances are they don't get Henderson. I don't think Judkins makes it to them at 51.
No. I think Judkins goes within the first 10. You're looking at
Scatabo or Dylan Sampson, Caleb Johnson, RJ Harvey, those guys. I mean, I'm way higher than Caleb Johnson, so like I'd be thrilled to get him at 51 if I was Denver. we're disrespecting Trevion Henderson here too.
If you could promise me Caleb Johnson at 50, I'd be cool with that. But it's not out of the pot. Like, there's a chance he's not there. And I think Henderson's an every down back at the next level. Like, I think he could be their third down back. He could be their first down back. And in the Sean Payton system, dude.
And I mean, and they have options if they to spell him. Like Audric Estime, he can tote some carries. And Jaleel McLaughlin also does
the perfect complement to him.
Yeah.
Estime can go in there and power back it if he wants.
No, I'm cool. But, I like Henderson here. I'm in.
But I think Henderson's the best receiving back in this class almost. And this class is elite, the running back class wise. And that connection with Sean Payton, that's just deadly for Bo Nix, dude.
Yeah, he's the best receiving back in terms of also offering you other upside. Like I don't like I would say LaQuint Allen's a better receiver, but I don't think LaQuint Allen can move the rock.
He can't stretch the ball. Like,
yeah,
LaQuint Allen's a really good receiver. Henderson's like a legit receiver. He can get 10, 13 yards a catch and just keep that ball moving.
But I also don't think LaQuint Allen can tote 15 carries and average 5 yards a pop.
No.
And same with like Woody Marks. And Woody Marks is also 25, 24 years old. So, and Brashad Smith, who knows? He's only had 1 year of experience at running back. So, yeah, Trevion Henderson at 20 to Denver. That puts us up at 21 with Pittsburgh.
I think Henderson's the only other running back that could fall into the first. I think it's like Judkins and Henderson. And after that, I don't think, or Judkins and Amario Hampton. I think if another running back goes into the first, it's going to be Trayvon Henderson.
I agree. All right, Pittsburgh up at 21. Is this Jackson Dart?
This is where Jackson Dart really starts getting to the question, because we got Pittsburgh here, who is most likely going to end up with Rodgers. And then we got the Rams coming up in a couple picks. I think one of those teams is going to pull the trigger here on Jackson Dart, or someone's going to trade up to one of these picks. Excuse me. Like Tampa Bay trading their pick so someone can jump Pittsburgh makes a ton of sense.
I even don't hate Denver trading back.
I agree. Someone jumping
trading
Pittsburgh
back
for Dart
into the first to get Trevion. And like if they could trade out of 20 and then say move into 30, 32 and get Trevion Henderson, I think that'd be great for them. But Pittsburgh here.
Who are you looking at if it's not Jackson Dart?
I think I would take my shot on Josh Simmons, honestly.
I like that a lot. I think Simmons is a great tackle, dude. He's going to fall a little bit because of his injury.
Josh Simmons is better than the 21st pick in the draft.
For sure. I agree offensive line-wise. It's like Simmons, Kelvin Banks, Greg Zabel if they want to attack. They don't really need a guard, but it's too early for Connolly. I like Simmons a lot here.
I'd be looking at Simmons,
don't pull
Kelvin Banks, and one of the big linemen, Walter Nolan, Mykel Williams.
Yeah, one of the thicker guys.
Yeah.
Hey, yo.
I think Mykel Williams would be a good fit. I think he fits that Cameron Hayward style. He can be the replacement for him. Like I think in Pittsburgh is a nice landing spot for him.
And to learn under a guy like Casey Hayward is huge for a guy like Mykel Williams, dude. Casey Hayward's one of the best, dude.
Cameron Hayward.
Cameron. Mykel Williams, Walter Nolan, Colston Loveland?
No, they like Freiermuth. And they drafted Darnell. They drafted Darnell Mitchell or Darnell Washington.
Darnell Washington, who is the worst, dude. That guy is no knees.
I think I would lock it into either Mike Cale or Josh Simmons. I'll let you make the call.
Go Mykel Williams. Okay. I've been pushing him for the last couple picks.
Mykel Williams to Pittsburgh at 21. Chargers at 22. Well, Colston Loveland's on board. The Chargers need a tight end. The Chargers need another weapon outside of Ladd McConkey, and it just so happens that Harbaugh coached Colston Loveland. So It's a perfect scenario here for the Los Angeles Chargers.
It makes so much sense, but that's probably the pick we're going to make. Just if it's not that, just give Chargers just a little bit more airtime here. Where else would you go? I'm looking at guys like Derek Harmon,
Yeah, I would go.
Ezaraku. I'm not looking at any of the receivers. I think Burton and Ibuka are too similar to Laddie Daddy.
I mean, you don't want two Lad McConkeys on your team, though?
I don't think Hardball does. That's not really
maybe, but Ibuka blocks his ass off, and he beat John Harbaugh in college. Well, he didn't beat him, but he played against him, so Harbaugh saw him do the work. So I wouldn't rule Ibuka out for the Chargers.
I don't know, dude. I kind of would. I think they care too much about a defensive line for them to go receiver.
I agree. But if they went receiver, I think it would be Ibuka.
I agree. I don't think they would go Burton over Ibuka. I think Burton, or I think Ibuka would. Ibuka's definitely going to go before Burton. I'm pretty confident. I think I would
lean Ezaraku or James Pierce if we were to go outside of Colston Loveland.
You're not looking interior, Derek Harmon or Walter Nolan?
No, because I think I can get an interior guy a little later. I don't think I can get an edge rusher to learn under Khalil Mack at 55. Whereas I can get Omar Norman Lott a little later.
No, that's a good point. I think there's way more depth in the second and third for interior than edge.
Mm-hmm. But Colston Loveland still.
Yeah, Colston Loveland is going to be the pick. Yeah, we were just trying to talk if it's not Colston Loveland.
All right, Green Bay at 23. Do you consider Emeka Egbuka here? Do you think he's a 1?
No.
No?
I think Ibuka's a really, really good number 2 receiver.
Can I talk into Kelvin Banks? I know they drafted Jordan Morgan last year, but Jordan Morgan is a guard. I don't care that Green Bay thinks he's a tackle. He's not. And Kelvin Banks allows Jordan Morgan to move to guard, which is way better for Jordan Morgan, and then they get a good potential tackle in Kelvin Banks.
Yeah,
I also wouldn't even rule out Grace Sable, but
that's kind of.
But they signed another guard. They signed the Niners guard, and they gave him a ton of money in free agency. So I like Kelvin Banks here. What's the corner board looking like? Because I think they can use a corner. That's
where I'm at, and I think it would be Maxwell Hairston if they go corner. I don't think Trey Amos goes first. I don't think Revel's going to go right here.
See, I don't think Hairston's their type. They don't do the speed guys. They like more physical guys. I think if they were going to go corner, I think we'd be looking at Azaria Thomas.
I don't hate that. I just think it's a little bit too early for Thomas.
Yeah, I just don't like how the corner board fell for them. And I like the depth of the corner class, but I don't know if there's a lot of strong first round locked guys.
I think that could be. Ibuka does sound really good, but I don't think he's a 1, dude. But that doesn't mean Green Bay doesn't. And I know there are people out there that think Ibuka can be a 1.
Mm-hmm.
You think he can?
There's also... Yes, I do, but I don't think he could be he's not a 1 in terms of size, strength, overpowering receiver. He's just a number 1 in terms of like Amon-Ra St. Brown's a number 1 just based off talent and ability and just what he does with the ball.
I get what you're saying. I don't think Ibuka can do that.
I agree. I think Ibuka's a strong number 2 receiver, which is
and that's all I view him.
Has
exactly
strong number 2 receivers.
What about James Pierce here? Ezaraku?
Green Bay loves big ends though.
Derek Harmon,
edge rushers. What about a trade?
I don't hate it.
And get Jackson Dart here. I mean, I prefer we wait on that because the Vikings are up next, and I would love to trade down, but I don't hate Green Bay trading down, and then maybe they do target the big bodies wide receiver and Jaden Higgins in the second round.
That is true.
So do you
Green Bay
want
is
to
always tough, dude.
move up the Giants here? Because I think that's who's moving up.
I agree. If we're moving a team up, it's going to be the Giants. They have the second pick in the second round. So a team's only moving back a couple picks at this point.
The team that PFF wants us to trade is the New York Giants.
Of course it is.
So 34 for 23. You want to give 99 and a fourth next year?
Yeah, sure. I don't even know if it would be a fourth, to be honest.
Yeah, well, doesn't matter. All right.
Yeah.
So there we go. We did a trade on the fly. The New York Giants are now on the clock instead of the Green Bay Packers. The Giants traded pick 34, which is the second pick of the second round. They traded a fourth round pick 99. Well, that's a third. Pick 99 is a third round pick. So they traded.
That's a lot. I don't think it's going to cost that much.
Yeah, I thought 99 was a fourth. I think it'll cost a second and maybe 2 fourths, a fourth this year and a fourth next year.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I think it'll be like a second, a fourth, and something next year. Not much next year though.
Got to pay the quarterback tax.
But yeah, if the team's moving up to Jackson Dart, it makes so much sense that it is the Giants because they got screwed out of 1 and 2.
Yep.
But they still got Abdul Carter in this scenario and Jackson Dart. That's a phenomenal draft for the New York Giants.
I'm cool for it. Lock it in. 23 Jackson Dart, courtesy of Green Bay to the New York Giants. That puts the Minnesota Vikings up at 24.
And here's where Green Bay doing that screws you guys out of trading your pick.
Yeah. I think this pick is really two people, and it's Malachi Starks or Nick Emanwari.
I have those guys on my board as well, but I would also look at like Pierce or Ezeraku, one of the edge guys.
I was going to say Derek Harmon would be the other guy I'd throw in.
Yeah, some type of defensive lineman would also be in the realm of possibility here.
But the Vikings lost Cameron Bynum. Harrison Smith is on the end of his legs. He's almost done. He's got maybe 2 years left. I wouldn't surprise me if this was his last year. So Josh, I would lean Malachi Starks because we have Josh Malaitis, who pretty much plays the Nick Emanwari role. He plays linebacker, he plays safety, he plays nickel. Mm-hmm. Whereas I think Starks comps better to Harrison Smith's spot on the defense.
Yeah, I think Starks is more of a comp to Harrison. I'm just going to get
flashbacks of taking Lewis Seen and him never working out Georgia safety for the Vikings.
Starks is different, dude. Starks is so talented, dude. And like you guys don't have many picks this year. So if you're walking out of this draft with the possibility of having one like Pro Bowl, all pro talented guy, and it's Starks. Starks is one of the few guys in this draft that can be all pros.
Yeah.
Like he is, his ceiling is so high, dude.
Do you think somebody trades up for a tackle here to jump the Texans and the Rams?
Yeah, Houston jumps themselves so they can guarantee Josh Simmons.
We'll lock in Malachi Starks here for the Vikings.
I love that pick for Minnesota.
Yeah. Houston on the clock at 25, and this is pretty much Kelvin Banks or Josh Simmons.
Yeah, they're not going to pass on one of those guys.
I think Simmons makes sense. The Texans signed Cam Robinson, Jaguars' former left tackle, was traded to the Vikings. Mm-hmm. And I think he could be a stopgap left tackle for them until Josh Simmons is ready.
I agree.
So lock in Josh Simmons. You consider Gray Zabel here. He could play interior.
No, because if they think Simmons is a pure tackle, and that's what they traded this offseason. They traded their all-pro talented left tackle. And that's what C.J. Stroud needs. And I think Josh Simmons can step in there and be that guy at some point. He just has to come off this injury healthy.
All right. Rams at 26.
What you looking at?
I like Kelvin Banks here.
Can I talk you into Maxwell Harrison?
I was going to say I also like corner here.
I think Harrison.
I think Harrison here. Yeah, I agree.
You brought up that he's not a good fit for Green Bay, but I think Harrison's a good fit here. I also think Thomas is a good fit here, the Florida State kid.
I would also rule Trey Amos here. He ran really well, and that was my concern with Trey Amos was just his speed because he doesn't look fast on tape, but he ran really well at the combine. But I like Hairston to the Rams. I think that's a good fit.
Oh yeah, I love that fit. I think it's going to be Harrison, Thomas. I think Trey Amos might go in the first, but I think he might fall out of the first a little bit.
Kelvin Banks here, though? Would you think they take Maxwell Harrison over Kelvin Banks?
It depends on if they think Kelvin Banks can be a pure tag. Because there's a chance he just slides in. I do like the Banks pick a lot. That is a really good point. Yeah, how do you feel about that?
I would lean Banks more than Harris just because of depth at the position. I think at 90, there's a chance they can get a decent corner still. They're not getting a tackle at 90.
Yeah, you know what? I think Kelvin Banks is more important to this team right now than Harrison.
I think the NFL is going to like Kelvin Banks more than this just because he's how young he is and how raw he is. I think he can be molded into a really good tackle.
I think there's a legitimate chance that he went to Houston instead of Josh Simmons.
Yeah, if they want a guy who can play right off the bat.
Injury and whatnot with going on with Simmons.
Okay. So we'll lock Kelvin Banks in here to 26 for the Rams. Because, if Kelvin Banks was there at 27, he was probably going to Baltimore. And look at this. The board for Baltimore.
It's great.
James Pierce Jr., Donovan Ezeraku. I wouldn't rule out Emeka Ibuka here. Derek Harmon, Walter Nolan. I think Gray Zabel is probably where I would go. Sure up that interior of the offensive line. He just feels like a Raven. But shoot. I could be talking to any of those edge rushers or Derek Harmon, even Ibuka or Luther Burden, but Burden's too similar to me to Zay Flowers, so I think that rules him out. And Baltimore, I don't even know if they would address Ibuka. I think they're content with Bateman, DeAndre Hopkins, and Zay Flowers.
Yeah, I think they're pretty content at receiver. I don't think they're going to pick one in the first. They have a lot of mid-round picks. They have like 91, 129, 136 to snag a receiver at some point.
What about pairing
really like Pierce.
What about pairing Maxwell Hairston with Nate Wiggins and just have the scrawniest, fastest corners with Marlon Humphrey and Kyle Hamilton rotating at the slot?
I don't hate it. But I think I'm looking at edge here. I'm looking at Pierce.
Okay.
I really like Ezeraku here.
What about Tyler Booker?
I think that's a really good fit.
Just get a mauler on that line. He's a Raven.
Yeah, he adds a lot to that offensive line. Yeah, I'm looking at the trenches here regardless for Baltimore. I don't really care which way you do go, but
yeah, I like Booker. I like Zabel. I think I would lean that way just because I think I can get an edge rusher at 59, whether it be Nick Scorton or
Landon Jackson.
Yeah, Landon Jackson. Or even Princely Umanmielen. I think he'll be there at 59.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think I would lean interior offensive line here for Baltimore with Gray Zabel and Tyler Booker both on the board.
I think they would go Booker over Zabel. I think he goes before.
I agree. All right, so Tyler Booker to Baltimore.
I love Booker here, yeah. I have Booker way higher than 27 on my big board, I can tell you that.
So now Detroit at 28, they could go Gray Zabel. I also think they could be looking at one of these edge rushers, Ezeraku or James Pierce Jr., here as well.
I really like edge rusher here, but I like Gray Zabel as well. I'm not indifferent. I think we're looking at teams right here that just really need trenches, like Baltimore, Detroit, Washington coming up. We're looking at like guards, we're looking at edge, we're looking at interior line. So these teams are all very similar, where they also could use a little bit of receiver help. Not so much Detroit, but Washington and Baltimore for sure.
Do you think there's a chance?
What's up?
That Detroit would trade down here. Say to Tennessee at 35, and Tennessee moves up here to pair Emeka Ibuka with Calvin Ridley.
I don't hate it.
And then that gets Cam Ward another weapon that they need.
I don't hate it.
Or do you think they just stay put because one of these receivers is going to make it to them at 35?
I was going to bring it up that one of the receivers is most likely just going to be there at 35 and a couple picks. If I had to make this pick here for Detroit, it's probably James Pierce. I would just pull the trigger on one of the edge guys, and I'm just going to take the more athletic one. He could play off-ball linebacker too.
Say Detroit has no problems taking a guy with a little bit of a problematic stuff.
No, not at all.
So yeah, I like that. I think Pierce has the pick here.
Cool.
If we're going to make the pick. All right, James Pierce, 28 to Detroit, puts Washington up at 29. Same guys, I think we're going to be talking about Ezeraku,
Gray
Zabel.
I like Maxwell Hairston here.
Maxwell Hairston. Do you think they have Emmanuel Forbes trauma, though?
I don't think you can really look at that. They need corner help so bad in a division that has stacked receiver rooms. Philly goes too deep. We added Ted to Dallas in this mock, I think. So yes. Dallas now, their receiving room's too deep. We have Malik Neighbors, one of the best young receivers in football. Who on Washington is covering these guys? It's not Lattimore anymore, dude. He's old, dude. I think Harrison brings the speed, but they could use an edge rusher for sure. If you want to talk me into an edge.
I don't know if Ezeraku really fits in Washington.
What about Gray Zabel?
Yeah, they lost Sam Cosmi. Yeah, I would go Zabel or edge here. Not edge, corner. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of in the same boat. I'm either Gray Zabel or Maxwell Harrison, Azarie Thomas. I like one of those corners here. I'd be cool with either one. If you don't think they go Harrison because he's smaller and they go Thomas is a little bit different.
Yeah.
He's bigger, he's quicker.
I mean, it wouldn't... Can't rule. He
might not be quicker, but he's bigger because he's sized.
No, let's go Harrison. I think Harrison has a better shot going first round than Azarie does. All right, that puts Buffalo on the clock at 30. Could I talk you into Emeka Egbuka here?
Buffalo,
I know it's not necessarily
but you think they're going to do it?
No, Ezeraku's there. I think he fits. That's probably where I would end up going is Donovan Ezeraku to the Bills. Replace Von Miller. Pair him really nicely with Gregory Rousseau.
I like that pick. I like Derek Harmon here too.
Yeah, I think Harmon and Nolan are also options here as well. Nicky Manwari's
some other names.
Nicky Manwari's still on the board.
Yeah.
Do we really want our safety room to look like Taylor Rapp, Cole Bishop, and DeMar Hamlin if we're Buffalo going into next year?
Not ideal, dude. Hamlin was playing way too much for my liking.
Yeah. Just draft the flashy guy in Eamon and hope for an edge rusher in round 2?
I think you have a better chance of getting an edge rusher at 56 than...
Because they got 2 early picks there, 56 and 62, almost back-to-back.
Because after Eamon, sure, there's Xavier Watts, but after him, it's kind of just like...
It's Kevin Winston Jr., who's coming off an ACL injury.
Yeah, it's him. It's the kid from Iowa. It's the kid from Ohio State. It's nothing pretty. And Eamon talented, dude. He's fast. He's quick. He's explosive.
Let me tell you, if he doesn't go to Buffalo, he's ending up in Philly.
I was gonna say he's going in the first, so we have to get him. We have to get him in here regardless.
No, I like Eamon here.
I like it a lot.
Yeah, because they also need linebacker, so he can kind of do a little dual thing there with linebacker safety. He could pass,
drop down, play the box.
Yep, play nickel. Kansas City at 31. Man, Gray Zabel's sitting here.
Gray Zabel, yeah, for sure. Him, Derek Harmon, Walter Nolan. We're looking at trench guys for sure for Kansas City here.
Yeah, I would love Egbuka there, but
Ezeraku too.
Yeah,
I don't think they go receiver.
Either do I. But I think Egbuka would be a good fit. But Rashee Rice coming back off the injury. Xavier Worthy played really well last year.
Mm-hmm.
They brought back Juju.
They have a really early second, or really early third.
Third,
yeah, because of the Tennessee thing.
But no,
So they
I
have
like
63 and 66.
I
I think you
Gray
can go receiver there.
I like Gray Zabel here to replace Joe Thuney.
Yeah, they need offensive line bad, dude. We see what happened in the Super Bowl, and it was not pretty.
All right. Gray's able to the Chiefs. All right, final pick of the first round. The Eagles at 32. They got the pick of the litter. Donovan Ezraku's here. Emeka Egbuka. Do we trade down? Does Philly trade down? Maybe someone wants to get Egbuka. Just lock him in. Like, man.
I kind of think
Vegas
Philly,
moving up for Egbuka with Ashton Janty, Brock Bowers.
that's definitely a possibility. But
I think if Philly makes the pick, it's Walter Nolan.
I think it's Walter Nolan or Derek Harmon. I think it's one of the interior guys. Because Philly has so much line talent, yes, but they're all young and they're all going to be free agents at some point, and they obviously let them go. Look at Milton Williams. You have to replace him.
I would lean Nolan because I think him and Milton Williams are a similar skill set.
I agree. If I had to go between one of those guys for Philly, it would be Walter Nolan, but Derek Harmon's a hell of a player.
Man, I can't believe we didn't get Donovan Ezraku off the board.
We can get him in right here. He would fit in Philly too.
Yeah, that's true. He would be a nice replacement for Josh Sweat. I actually like that.
Yeah, Philly, you can get any type. Philly, defensive line wise, I like Ezraku, like Walter Nolan.
I think I would take Ezraku over Nolan and Harmon.
Yeah, I think Ezraku would be the best fit here for Philly. Just based off the edge thing, interior guy, you can snag one later, 66, 96, or 64.
They can get a guy like Tyleek Williams down there, most likely. Omar Norman Lott. Yep. I don't think you're going to get a guy as quality as Donovan Ezraku on the edge.
No.
So, yeah, let's lock that in for Philly there at 32 to round out our first round. All right. Let's lock it in. Round one in the books. Quick recap. Tennessee took Cam Ward, Miami quarterback. Shadur Sanders at 2, the quarterback from Colorado, to Cleveland. Edge rusher Abdul Carter, Penn State, to the Giants at 3. Travis Hunter, the generational wide receiver corner. I think he plays wide receiver in this position, going 4 to New England. Mason Graham, the interior defensive lineman from Michigan, to Jacksonville at 5. Ashton Janty, the all-world running back from Boise State, to Las Vegas at 6. Armin Menbu, right tackle from Missouri, to the Jets at 7. Carolina takes edge rusher linebacker Jalen Walker from Georgia at 8. At 9, we got New Orleans going Matthew Golden, our real first surprise of the draft, the wide receiver from Texas, to the Saints there. Amarian Hampton, then the running back North Carolina at 10 to Chicago. Will Campbell, guard, maybe tackle, LSU to the Niners at 11. Dallas takes wide receiver Teteroa McMillan from Arizona at 12. Jahdae Barron, the corner from Texas at 13 to Miami. Tyler Warren, the Penn State tight end, to the Colts at 14. Jahad Campbell, the linebacker, pass rush situational guy from Alabama, to the Falcons at 15. Will Johnson, corner from Michigan, to the Cardinals at 16. Kenneth Grant, also from Michigan, interior defensive lineman of the Bengals at 17. 18, the Seattle Seahawks draft edge rusher Mike Green from Marshall. 19, Shamar Stewart, the defensive lineman from Texas A&M, to the Buccaneers. Trevion Henderson, running back Ohio State, to Denver at 20. Mike Cale Williams, the defensive lineman from Georgia, 21 to Pittsburgh. Colston Loveland, tight end Michigan, to the Chargers at 23. In our one trade in the draft, the Green Bay Packers trade down to 34 as the New York Giants trade up to 23 to draft quarterback Jackson Dart. 24, the Vikings take safety from Georgia Malachi Starks. 25, Josh Simmons, offensive tackle, Ohio State, to the Texans. 26, Kelvin Banks, the offensive tackle from Texas, to the Rams. 27, Tyler Booker, guard, to Baltimore. He's from Alabama. Edge rusher James Pierce Jr. from Tennessee, to Detroit at 28. Maxwell Hairston, the corner from Kentucky, to Washington at 29. Nick Emanwari, the safety chess piece type guy from South Carolina, to Buffalo at 30. Gray Zabel, guard or center. Well, he's going to be a guard in Kansas City. They got Creed Humphrey at 31. He's from North Dakota State. And then rounding out the first round, Donovan Ezraku, the edge rusher from Boston College, to Philadelphia at 32. I do want to make this Packers pick, though. I feel like we left them out, kind of disrespected them.
I was going to bring this up. I'm going to quick 34. Make Cleveland's pick. Cleveland's going to pick Josh Connerly Jr.
Okay.
They're going to pick a tackle to help protect Sanders, and I want to put you on the spot here for Green Bay. Who would you pick for Green Bay?
I was going to say Cleveland was going to take Ibuka, but Green Bay, I'm just taking the freak athlete. He's on the board still. I'm going Walter Nolan from
I think that's a great
Ole
pick.
Miss there to Green Bay. So there you go. Packers fans, if you're listening, we got your pick in at 34 that you traded down. So you moved down from 23 to 34. And you got Walter Nolan, who chances are he might have been our pick at 23. It lucked out for you guys there. A little bonus. They also could have
went. We talked Ibuka going there at 23, and Ibuka was here for them at 34.
Yep.
I think Green Bay moving back here worked out so well for them. There's so much talent here at 34.
Yep.
That they could have got at 23.
Yeah.
And they walked out with extra picks, so that was a great trade there for Green Bay. I
also considered Savon Ravel there for the Packers, but I think Walter Nolan's their type. All right, there we go.
I also think Trey Amos would have been a good pick too.
Co-mock draft in the books. Next episode, wide receiver rankings. I'm about 23. I'm 23 deep, so I got a top 20 locked in. Well, I mean, if I watch another guy, they could move into my top 20, but I got at least 20 guys watched. I did a real deep dive today at wide receiver. Killed off a lot of the guys I've been meaning to watch fully. So we got wide receivers coming up next, and then we'll figure out our other episode next week. We'll fix the episode from last week as well. So that'll be fixed. Yes, so they'll go up all together, 2 episodes at once. Thank you guys as always for listening. Drafted Up Podcast, you know where to find us, Twitter at @DraftedUp_pod, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, search Drafted Up Podcast, like, rate, subscribe, review, share. We appreciate it. And then support our friends over at W. Use the code Drafted Up. Today until Monday, you get 30% off with that order code. And then going forward after that, it'll be back to
30%.
Yeah. We appreciate you guys. Thanks as always listening for the Drafted Up Podcast. We outie.
Adios. Bye.